2025. I'm very excited about today. I got to meet this amazing human being last year at a networking event. As soon as we started talking, obviously she's super technical. It went past me, but I need to invite her. She needs to be part of this, and I think she can drop some knowledge on us, and that's what she's gonna do. So please help me welcome Julie Russell. She's CEO, CTO, founder and inventor of Smart Code. Also a couple fun things. She's a boxer, salsa dancer, and she's a badass coder. So that being said, I think she's here to help us change the way we do software. So with a hand of applause, welcome Julie Russell.
Thank you. So I'm going to be talking about timing. Timing is everything. I want to talk about my business, which is APIs, and how it got disrupted by AI and the AI hype, and basically the big dilemma that I was stuck in. Out of all of you in the crowd, who's the AI enthusiast? Just out of curiosity. No AI enthusiasts? Come on, guys. Who thinks it's overhyped?
We need more coffee.
You need more coffee? Who thinks it's overhyped? Come on.
I did a big training on AI. It's been like a whole semester of training to understand it, to do my own OpenAI and all that.
Yeah, so apparently corporations are doing AI training where people learn to type into the AI. So I'm hearing all of that. Yeah. All right. I want to give you some background. Background on my company. So my company started 10 years ago as Diamond Edge IT. We're a consulting company. And basically, I am an integration expert. So I come from MuleSoft world. I came prior from MuleSoft. I came from Java and Spring, and then moved into MuleSoft because it's built on top of Java and Spring. And then I basically worked for one of the biggest projects in the United States at the time. It was State Farm. They had 300 architects and 10,000 developers on the project. It was crazy. Everybody was flying into Bloomington, Illinois for 12 months. And I mean, for me, like, I was okay because I booked out the Marriott for 12 months, but for a lot of people, they were sleeping in the middle of the cornfields. There was a lot of activity going on, and I was part of the MuleSoft team. And from there, I moved on doing a lot of work for IBM Watson and integrating to Watson when AI kind of wasn't cool, and then moved on to MuleSoft Professional Services and worked for Professional Services for 6 years. And as part of professional services, there was just something that was really evident to me. And every single project that I worked on, there was at least a week that we had to work on where we were just creating this boilerplate templates, which created all of your error handling, your logging, everything, like all the consistent boilerplate code that you need. And then those templates would be passed over to everybody, and everybody would kind of copy and paste them and rename all the files, and that was the process. And you're talking about consultants that were very, very highly paid to spend a week doing that for every single, I would say over 50 plus. I created that same template for about 50 plus Fortune 500 companies. And I was just thinking the whole time, this is not making sense. So I created Smart Code. Before I do that, actually, I want to talk about this point here. So consultants see the gaps in technology, but they rarely productize them. This is something that I noticed a lot. If you go and talk to any consultant, they'll say, this is what's missing. You don't have this, you don't have this, we could do this better. But taking that to product is a different level and a different mindset. So I've seen consultants who create whatever it is that they think is missing, and then give it away for free because they don't even know how to take it to market is something I see a lot. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I just wanted to point that out. So Smart Code was basically my idea to bridge the gap on these templates that we were creating, but to take that one level further so that the enterprise systems or the systems that you're integrating to, we create the full connectivity to those systems. So we basically use those enterprise systems. We're able to search them, give them an easy way to create microservices off it by easily exploring it through an easy user interface and then automating all the code. We do it for MuleSoft and we do it for Spring Boot. Why those two technologies? Because majority of companies are migrating their microservices either from something like TIBCO to MuleSoft or MuleSoft to Spring Boot. The drivers behind that is either people who want to modernize or people who want to more cost conscious. The licensing for MuleSoft is unaffordable for some companies. I'm sorry, this is being recorded. I didn't say that. So basically, you're seeing that migration. The people that started off the migration towards it was mostly retail, and seeing banking and finance and other industries moving after that, and it's partially because of the move to cloud modernization as well, right? Because if you think about it from MuleSoft perspective, we started with a standalone server. We had, say, 2 to 3 cores that we put on that server. And 2 to 3 cores. We put like 6 or 8 cores, and then you could run like 200 applications on that. And it was very easy. And then moving to the cloud and moving to containerization changed all of that in terms of licensing. So you're talking about 200 applications that are now got their own containers and need resources and cores to sustain that. So all of a sudden your core licensing blew out. And so that's basically what drove the costs for iPaaS. And so now you're seeing a little bit of a movement away from that. So a lot of the reservation in moving off iPaaS is because languages, open source languages like Spring Boot and or even sort of they're mostly manual, or even moving back to .NET, they're mostly manual. So when we created Smart Code, we thought what we want to do is we want to automate the process regardless of what the implementational language is. So if you're talking about MuleSoft, it's a low code. They have a low code development environment. If you're talking about Spring Boot, you're typing away. So you get that same starting point regardless of what happens. The delay in our launch. So I filed a United States patent back in 2019, and I didn't really start developing it properly until the start of 2023. So one of the things that was one of the biggest delays was just being able to figure out how to write the code generator. And I literally wrote the generator probably about 6 times and threw it out about 6 times. So it was very challenging. What we do is we read schemas. So we read WSDLs, we read, for anybody who knows MuleSoft, we read RAML, we read OpenAPI, and we read Postman collections. And then we use that as enterprise data to turn that into your boilerplate code. So that was very, very challenging. And then the other things that really, stopped me, I was very comfortable in my job, I was being paid services, so that was hard to say, okay, I'm going to take away from my job full time and actually dedicate myself into this thing. And then there's the entrepreneurial mindset. So going back to what I was saying about consultants have great ideas, but they don't productize it. I think so I'm very good at my craft. I understand my craft, and I know that many other people are like that. Sometimes I'm like, it's very hard to then take that and figure out how to do sales and how to do fundraising and how to go to market. And that's a very, very different type of skill. And I guess that's why you have co-founders, right? Because some of them are technical or in their craft. It might be an accountant, it doesn't have to be, tech. And then other people are really business savvy and really good at that. And then if you match those two up, then you've got the package. But that's one of the things that definitely was a delay for me. And basically just being able to figure out how to break free of that corporate mindset and then figure out how to go ahead and do this. Did we miss our moment because we waited so long? There's a lot of stuff on the market, I know. But the short answer is no. What we saw actually happen is before the pandemic basically drove a lot of the necessity for speeding up digital transformation and having those type of tools. Prior to the pandemic, it was still a need there, but it was slightly less urgent. But what it did was it increased demand. So the demand that people had for, I'm going to need something to help me with this. Like, I need to figure out what I can do to accelerate my development. It became more apparent. But there was one problem. I launched at exactly the same time as the AI hype happened. So that created a lot of confusion, because if you're a code generator, everybody's like, are you AI? And I'm like, no, and I shouldn't be, but you got to hear me out. So messaging became a thing, and waiting for the AI hype to die down, that was like something that became apparent that we needed to do. So let's talk about the impact of the AI hype. That's why I asked you guys if you're all AI enthusiasts in the crowd. People who are AI enthusiasts really they're like, oh, everything is about AI, and it really took over the narrative. So for us, it was about trying to figure out our message and how we fit in. So first thing we had to do was understand what AI is good at, where's the limitations, what's its strengths, what's its weaknesses, does it do code very well, does it read code, write code, what can it do? Because we can't have a conversation with people about a code generator that's not AI if we don't understand what AI does really well. The other thing that became really apparent is what I call the postman effect. And basically, I was sitting at home last year. I was cooking or something completely unrelated. I had the TV on in the background, and all of a sudden I heard this advertisement come on TV, and I stopped and I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? And it was basically a advertisement from Postman, the testing API testing tool, and they were saying in order to do AI, you need clean data, and in order to get clean data, you need APIs, and Postman is the best at APIs. So I was thinking, oh wow, like even a big company like Postman is feeling like they have to use the word AI to get attention now. And that really blew my mind, because I knew that was something I was struggling with, but then I didn't realize how far up the chain it had gone. Fundraising. Gee, that's fun. So fundraising is, again, investors became very tunnel visioned on fundraising. They instantly wanted to know if we were AI, and if we're not AI, they wanted to know why not. And then you try to explain to them in technical terms why I'm not AI, but they're not technical. So it's like, that was another challenging thing that we had. So basically, affected our ability to fundraise and to communicate. We had to find a way to break through and talk to people. In some degree, like when we sort of backed off from looking for institutional investment, we found that some institutional investors actually came to us because they apparently have applications that run on the internet that scan where the traffic is going. So they just saw traffic coming to our site, and then they started to contact us and go, by the way, you know, we invest in development tools, we're very interested. So it's sometimes, you know, you have to find the right people to talk to, or they'll come your way. But my point is, it's kind of hard to stick to what you know is right when everybody's on the other train. They're all chasing the AI down there, and you're on this train on the other side going, I know I'm right because I'm a software architect and I've analyzed the situation, and I know that everybody's running that side, and so many people tell me like, well, you should just change your product. Just put AI in it. Put it somewhere. Put it down here. Like, doesn't matter. Just write it in. It doesn't even have to use it. Like, the amount of times I get told that. And then there's the bootstrapping issue. So obviously, if you're not getting institutional investors, you need to bootstrap your company. So that also got affected by AI because it literally seeped into everything that we were doing. And it became harder. One of the things that is happening it was a factor of two things. So MuleSoft, which is what I specialized in, got acquired by Salesforce, and as soon as Salesforce took over, there was a lot of changes that happened on that side, and from the vendor's point of view, a lot of it went to offshore, and a lot of the work dried up. So that was one of the things that happened. And so that made it challenging, but the other thing is that the jobs, like if you look at the jobs that are available today, they're mostly AI. They're mostly high paid, they're AI, and I mean, I found my job on Upwork as a MuleSoft architect for $9 an hour. I thought that was great. I probably could have made more money flipping burgers, to be honest. But it was like, whoa, what's going on here? So it literally seeped into every aspect of what we were doing. Is it? What do you think? Is AI cooling off? No. A lot of no's. Maybe it is a little bit. I think what's happening, and this was just a poll I got from TechCrunch, what is happening is that people are starting to realize where it fits in. So people have had a chance to play with it a bit more. They know what it's good for, what it's not good for. In my mind, I think it is a little bit, but AI enthusiasts will see it differently because their whole world revolves around it. I think that people are starting to figure out where it fits in its place. The biggest thing for us as well is, okay, if we're going to have to go forward as a company, we're going to have to find our message that fits. So there's a lot of different terms: low code, no code, migration tools. They're all part of the message. We tried a few of them on just to see how they fit and to see what works. And what we found was that when you put yourself into a bucket that you're not really that, then basically people come to you with preloaded expectations about this is what you need to be. And when you're not that, they walk away disappointed. So what we had to scale back and go, okay, maybe we don't have a bucket, and that's okay. We just need to explain it really well. And surprisingly, something happened. We made a final tweak around the end of last year to our message, and all of a sudden we started picking up traction from 7, 8 different countries. Surprisingly, Serbia was the biggest surprise of all of it. We're like, whoa, hey, how did we get there? So my point is, like, stay laser focused on real problems and stop chasing trends. Find out who you are and just figure out how to appeal and convey your message well, because when people have those real problems, they will come looking for you. And that's what we ended up, full circle, that's what we ended up finding out. So what did we learn? We learned a lot through our journey. But the biggest thing is that, when the market shifts, you kind of have to move with it. So, okay, AI dropped at the same time as we're like building out an API code generator. That's okay. Like, just move with it. Just take your message and like figure out where to cut through to your audience, figure out who you're talking to, and like I said, when they have that problem, they'll come to you because they're hearing the message loud and clear. And then also, like, don't abandon your message just because everybody's saying pivot here or pivot there. No, I'm not going to lie. I literally will go to people and say, I wrote an API code generator, and they'll go, okay. And I go, so I write an API code generator, and what we do is we take code and we put it through AI and it interprets it, and then we get the code generator to write it, and they go, oh, that's really exciting. So we do have to do the Postman effect ourselves. We don't have a choice. And to keep pivoting, right? Like, you have to keep like figuring out testing your market, figuring out what they want to listen to, and figure out how to like get your message through. And then, yeah, basically thinking outside the box. Honestly, I've thought along every single angle of like, how if I do this, how is they going to react to that? Or if I do this, and like thinking outside the box and just thinking further than whatever you think those parameters are. How do I go beyond what people need to hear? Now I need to work harder for this. I maybe if I dropped this back in 2019 when I originally had the idea, I wouldn't be scrambling so much, and maybe I would have been a lot further on. But I needed that time to process, to be able to like take that leap. And then I guess the biggest thing that I've learned is not to give up. I nearly did. I'm not going to lie. I went to the Bahamas last year, and I was in there for a week. I'm talking to a lot of people, and I just saw how simple their life was. And I'm like, oh wow, my life could be simple. Why is it so complicated? But I came back and I called up a few lawyers and said, I want to get an evaluation. Like, can you evaluate my patent? I kind of had enough of this stuff. And then something happened, and we got like a very, very big consulting company come to us and go demanding a meeting. And they're like, we have all these financial companies that want to do a migration from MuleSoft to Spring Boot. Like, we want to know about smart code. Tell us about smart code. And we're just like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. Like, they even didn't even communicate or send us a message. They just booked a meeting. And we're like, okay. And then the traction happened, and we're like, I don't know where that came from. Okay. So I doubled down and dug my heels in and wrote it out. And sometimes your timing is a little off, but you spend that time refining yourself and trying to figure out how to push that message forward and push through what you're doing. And it's okay. You just kind of have to ride the wave. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's it. That's all I had to say about timing. Is there any questions?
You mentioned that you had to make the shift from the corporate mindset to the entrepreneurial mindset as you're kind of ramping up. And I was curious if you could share a few of the things that were difficult in that transition from corporate mindset to entrepreneurial mindset, and how you dealt with it, and kind of made it your new behaviors?
Yeah, it was so hard, and I honestly made a lot of mistakes on the way as well, I'm not going to lie. I didn't know anything about sales, and I didn't know anything about fundraising, right? So people are coming to me going, pre-money this, post-money that, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I don't know what you're saying. So I sat down and I said, okay, I'm going to do this full time, and I sat there for 6 months and I'm just coding away trying to make this. And I brought in someone to help me on the other side, like a potential co-founder, and I did not. It's not work out. That's okay. That happens. So then I had to figure out. I had to figure out the whole sales scenario. I had to figure out how to build a go-to-market strategy for someone who has no sales background. It's not easy. I do think in every level of your career, each time you further yourself, there is a switch in the mindset. So I started from being a full-time employee, and going from a full-time employee to a sole trader where I'm like contracting out is a mind switch in itself, and it's a big leap. And then taking yourself from the level of I'm a sole trader to a company is just another leap, which I did with my services company, which is like, okay, how do I stop representing myself, Julie Russell, and start representing myself like Diamond Edge? So how do I represent my company? And then going from that to product is on another level. Like learning how to figure out how to create runway is really wasn't easy for me at all. Now, it might be easy for some people, they come from that background, but it was, a lot of it happened because I decided, I just committed to doing it, and then I had to kind of figure it out as I go. It wasn't like I sat there and it's funny because when I moved to Miami, I started going out to a lot of events like this, and I met a lot of founders, and people are like, oh yeah, but you're doing it wrong. You have to do they would rattle off the 9 steps of a pitch deck. Basically, you have to go get your market audience, test your fit, do this, do that. I didn't do any of that. Honestly, I found a problem that I wanted to solve, and I solved it, and then I went, how do I sell? Anybody can help me? Learning all of that off the back of it. I learned it all off the back of it after I brought out my first prototype. I took it to a bunch of consultants, and they're like, this and this is good, but it's not going to work because I need that. So I took it back and did like a second prototype, brought it out again, and I guess I was essentially ticking off some of those boxes without knowing I'm ticking off those boxes. Like, I'd gone and done my market research. I talked to people. Once I had the patent in place, I'm like, okay, I got a patent. I'm not worried that people know what I'm doing. I talked to everybody about what I'm doing. Oh, but the conversation shifted. The people's priorities shifted. So I'm talking to people, and what do you need with your APIs? Well, I'm doing MuleSoft, but I'm really thinking of doing Spring Boot, but I don't know how to put it together, and I don't know how to build an iPaaS ecosystem. Okay, I can solve that. And then I come back to them and go, oh, I've got all that stuff you wanted. And they go, well, actually, what I really want is a way to accelerate LLMs. Can you do that? And it's like, okay. All right, I see what's happening here. So yeah, it's I don't know. I think, I don't think it's an intentional shift. It's just something that happened because I had to solve my own problems about what to do with this thing that I built.
Out of necessity.
Yeah.
Right, failure's not an option.
It's not, it really isn't, and it shouldn't be. Like, you just have to like look at it as, this is my to-do list, this is where I need to get to. How do I fill that gap? What am I not doing here, and how do I fix it? I always have a like, okay, I know what I'm doing wrong, I'm gonna fix it attitude. So I was just like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fix it. How do I fix it? All right, I'm gonna go out. Obviously, I also brought in advisors, which helps a lot. I brought in advisors all on the sales side. I didn't bring in any tech advisors at all. I'm just like, sales, like, this is what I need. Help me figure this out.
But you solely coded the whole thing yourself?
Not 100%. I'm not a full stack developer. I'm like a API person. So I solely created the code generators myself, and I paid people to build the platform because I had to expose it out and put a user interface on the front of it and all that. I did not. I went and found them all on Upwork. So my Upwork people have been with me for a very long time. And yeah, so I basically just hired talent from there.
What's your process? I mean, like Upwork is just like that. It's like a gigantic pool of people. So how do you vet people and find good talent there? You know, it's a difficult process, right? Filtering.
It is. Well, basically, what I would do is I would, because I'm a tech person and I know I can vet people from an interview perspective. So I would go through and I would check, first of all, I would check to see what they do in their cover letters. A lot of people just don't worry about that. I actually think they tell a lot. I would look at their profiles. I would look at, go down the list until I get like 3, 4, 5 solid interviews. And then I would stop reading. So this is why Upwork makes money, right? Because you pay connects to jump up to the top. And I don't love the model because I feel like the people who need jobs are the ones who are paying the money to get them. But I have got some really solid guys up there. Some of them, once I got a couple, the last lot were from recommendation of the people I was already working with, and then we just routed it through Upwork. But yeah, basically, if I was a non-technical person and I was searching on Upwork, I probably would hire someone technical to vet the resumes for me.
Is there a geographical area like South America, Europe, South Asia?
I don't care.
Are you kind of are your engineers like all over the place?
I have one in Poland, I have one in Pakistan, one in the Netherlands.
Right? Didn't you say Serbia?
No, we had a customer, yeah. So no, I don't care where people are as long as they can smart and can do the work. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah. And I have a testing team in India, so yeah, crazy time zones though, for sure. Sometimes it's hard to manage the time zones.
Yeah.
Have you raised any crown yet? Like already after the institutional investor?
We raised friends and family and bootstrapped all the way through. So in the end, I had a couple of institutional investors that have come to me and I told them to come back later.
Oh, so you're still...
Got the door wide open, but probably not the right time yet for us. We're probably too early stage for the people that came to us. But so I just told them like, hey, like, you know, this is great. Like, let's talk in 6 to 12 months. Yeah. I think it's that was the other thing that really baffled me, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I felt like it was, I get it, like investors want to manage their risk and so they want to come in once they know you're working, but the part to get to like, you know, first sales and like to actually build your product, especially when you're building something as complex as a code generator, that's when you need the money the most. So it was very challenging for me. I'm not going to lie. Like I've had a lot of stress over money, you know, getting to this point. Like it wasn't an easy ride. I don't think it's an easy ride for any entrepreneur, to be honest. People are I see like these TikToks and stuff going, hey, you know, this is my life as an entrepreneur. So I get coffee and I do this and I do that. And I'm like, my gosh, no, I want to hear your war stories. Tell me what you went through. Tell me about your struggles so that I know that I'm not the only person that had to like drag myself through the mud to get to the point of where I am now.
Do you feel like you already found the product market fit?
Yeah, well, we know exactly where we fit in now. Yeah, so it wasn't where we thought, so we had to pivot a few times. Like originally, we were going to consulting companies, and they're like, "I believe you, good code generator. It saves about 30% of the time. The problem is, you're taking away from my billable income." So I was like, oh, okay, a little too fast. Maybe if we just accelerated a little bit. So we pivoted off that and onto like end customers, you know, private equity firms mostly, and just completely changed the direction that we were going in. I mean, as a consultant, I completely understand, like, don't want to cut into people's bread and butter. I know that everybody wants to speed things up, just probably not as much. But at the same token, there's like a lot of challenges on the consulting side, right? Because especially in the industry that I have, they have this model where they give consultants for 3 months for free. And so, you know, offshoring companies are saying, okay, if you hire us long term and basically hire us to manage all of your work, then we'll give you consultants for 3 months for free. And so a lot of people who can't afford to do that are like, wow, I'm being budged out of this market. So they need to think differently. Instead of trying to figure out how to make cheaper resources, they need to think about how they can complete it at the same cost with, like, you know, the same high hourly rate, but less work. And that's where automation really comes in and helps.
So you mentioned conversions a couple of times with some clients, but now I guess my question is, how many or what portion of your business is conversions versus new product for a client, and are the majority of your clients still kind of seeking you out, or are you targeting specific clients in certain industries?
I know both. That surprise traction was like without direct sales. Like we definitely are, you know, running our own lead generation on our target market. But yeah, that was just like, we were just like, whoa, where did that come from? You know, like we didn't even think about marketing in Serbia, to be honest. So, but basically, had to like, you know, change our personas of who we were going after a few times.
Where are you in your product development cycle? What do you think your company at this point? And your R&D, I mean, you still stay on the same solution? You can increase the features and functionality of the product? How do you map that out?
Yeah. So we came out with a code generator that it was actually grew pretty organically, to be honest. So when we first started and came up with the idea, we were working for an insurance company. They had this big, ugly SOAP service that had, we had to create a mapping for. It had 20,000 lines. And I gave it to the guy who was working under me in services that I just hired. And I said, hey, here's this 20,000 lines. I need a mapping that maps from, you know, rest to SOAP. And it needs to look like this. Have a nice day. So he goes away, and a week later I'm looking, there's no code written, and I'm going, okay, how's it going? And he's like, good. And I'm like, okay. I get to another week later and I'm like, how's it going? And he's like, good. And I'm like, okay. And it gets to the third week and all of the code turned up. And I looked at him shocked and I'm like, what did you do? And he's like, he goes, I'm not going to write it. He goes, I wrote a program to write it. So that's how Smart Code was basically born. And some of these things are huge, right? Like we have, our biggest one is 700,000 lines long. And it's a construction CRM. So we started trying to solve SOAP. And then they came, our market audience came to us and said, we love it, but can you do it for REST? And we're like, okay, let's do that. So then we came out with the full prototype with SOAP and REST. And then someone said, well, if I don't have a schema, can you do it with a Postman collection? We're like, oh, okay, all right. So we wrote another parser. And then we came out with all of that and we took it to a bunch of consulting companies and they're like, that's great, but have you seen our legacy software? And we're like, show us. We're like, can it be worse than 20,000 lines? They're like, here you go. 64,000 lines. We're like, whoa. And then someone else is like, here you go. 700,000 lines. We're like, whoa. We didn't even know they were that big. So they're like, if I'm going to integrate to this, I'm not going to integrate to all 700,000, however many endpoints there are. So I just want to create microservices. And we're like, okay, how can we make that happen? How can we explore it so that you can choose what you want to interact with? And that's where that's the stage that we're at now, is like, okay, now we have something that people can use. We've covered all the bases of like what type of systems of course you can do much more. We have a much bigger plan for where we're going, not just code. We're going to automate technical documents as well, because we know developers absolutely love writing technical documents. But basically, yeah, it's I think we're at a solid like release 1. Like we're selling that now. Our next release will be mostly customizations for customers. And then the next big release after that will be the documents adding onto it.
So do you see the product evolving more into other areas? Do you find it challenging to understand what the market is asking from the product that you develop, or the area that you want to cover? Or do you just want to, from customer to customer, just customize it and be able to do that?
Yeah. No, we talk to a lot of people. We have like regular syncs with like a lot of different CTOs, talking to them. We just talk to them in general about like what they're seeing in the market, what people are doing, what they want from their product suite, from their services side, from the customer side, everything, right? What languages are they doing? Because that's another big thing. Like we like to talk about ourselves being language agnostic, but we only cover 2 languages right now. So where are the migrations going? When I said at the start, people are moving from TIBCO to MuleSoft mostly, and MuleSoft to Spring Boot. Why are they doing that? What's driving that? What other languages are on the table? We're constantly surveying everybody to see what the market wants. So it's not like the documents generator. That idea actually started from a LinkedIn post, to be honest. I was putting out a survey going, what do you hate writing the most? And everybody put documentation. So we're like, okay, well, you hate it that much, let's automate that. So we've never really, like, outside of our original idea where we were talking about solving the SOAP issue, everything else has come from market request.
I'm curious for what's been your experience as a female leader, and what you think about being a female has helped you in this journey.
It's funny that you say that, because we got on a call the other day with a very big partnership that we're chasing at the moment, and the lady who's very, very high up in the company, she, you can't even book the appointment through her. She has an assistant and everything. And my advisors are going, no matter what you do not go past the 30-minute mark. Like, don't go 1 second over it. We get to like the 25-minute mark, and she's like, I just want to take a minute to celebrate the fact that we're all female on the call. And we all like started clapping and everything, and we're like looking at the clock going, we need to book the next call, we need to do this, we need to do that. I know she wants to celebrate, but like, we've got to wrap this call up. They told us not to go over the 30-minute mark. We went over the 30-minute mark because she was talking for ages, and then we had to wrap it up. I think that sometimes, it's an interesting question. Sometimes it works for you and sometimes it works against you. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It's what you bring to the table is my answer to that. I definitely am not going to lie. There's positions that I've got because I am female. And there are other challenges that I've had because I'm female but I think at the end of the day, people come to you because of what your value proposition is. And if you are really strong at that, then it all becomes much of a muchness. The thing that I usually get told the most is people like doing business with me because I'm way too honest and transparent. And so I think that's probably the quality that stands out more. I've had customers actually tell me, like, the reason why I want to do business with you is because you're just too honest and really transparent. And I think they're like, things that help a lot. But yeah, that's my best answer I can give you.
Do you find yourself using intuition or leveraging your intuition at all? And if so, how do you access it, or how do you bring it to the workplace?
As in, like my sense of intuition about like.
Yeah, what direction to go, who to work with, who to not, how to manage things, decisions to make.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty OCD. I'm a Virgo, so if anybody's a Virgo, you'll know what we're like. We run around and make everything straight and place everything the right way. So for me, like over my entire career, it's always been about stepping stones. So I've always seen my career as like, in order to get to the next step, I need to do X, Y, Z, and this is where I need to go. And sometimes you need to take 1 step back to go 2 steps forward. And it's always a game of chess to me. It's like, how do I get up here? And up here might be one thing today and it might be a different thing tomorrow. The only you can change your direction or what you want to do. But for me, if I don't know what direction I'm going in and I'm at a crossroads, that's when I get really lost. As for intuition, I think it's just the guiding principles. Once you have your path and you know where you're following and where you want to go, then you kind of know how to, create those different opportunities to get there. Or you need to look at that. Like I said, I'm pretty OCD, so I'll analyze everything. But I don't know about maybe, do I have intuition?
Kind of like building the plane and flying it at the same time, and just avoiding all the pitfalls the best you can.
There's always
Learning what to avoid.
I think you need to fall into the pitfalls because that's when you get your best lessons. So once you fall into those pitfalls, then you can, as long as you can come out of it and do a post pitfall analysis, then and take your lessons learned, then you can move forward from that. Are we good?
Thank you very much for being with us.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
So we can network. There's more drinks. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you have more questions, hit Julie up one-on-one. She'll be around, right?
Yeah.
I'm forcing you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, everybody. I'm gonna be posting a QR code